Okay, so new edition of Indigenization Appreciation Hour begins. Let me get to the question straight away. This is a ground forces equipment themed IAH. So please limit your questions to that area, because I'm not really going to answer questions related to naval issues or Air Force issues on this edition. Okay, so I think I'll have to ignore the first question from Shubhade and go to the next one. Okay, Raghavas, in the previous IH, you were discussing about the importance of a tactical communication system, which can communicate on the move for rapids to be effective. Do we have any of such systems? There was a demonstrator with 10 core at one time for something like this. Basically, VANETs and MANETs, mobile area networks and all that. So right now, no, but we don't have anything which is ubiquitous across the army. In fact, this is exactly the sort of thing we need to work on. Command and control and electronic warfare, these are extremely important areas, and they are neglected as a matter of course, because you see, nobody really gets to the top by specializing in those areas. Anyway, next question. Even us, this is a more general question. If looked at the micro level, India is quite advanced in military tech, but most of the systems are not known to China. On the other hand, Chinese with copied Russian or licensed Russian system show them to the world. Yeah, well, India will have to increase the percentage of indigenous systems it has in its inventory if it wants an advantage. Next question. Okay, that's an Air Force question. I'll have to ignore that. Frankenstein CS asks, myth of tech transfer: no matter how much one is willing to pay, no one will transfer tech which can affect their future business opportunities. Yes, pretty much. Okay, next, really hope Indian Army goes with at least 75 to 80% by value on the FRCV, FICV and NGMT. I think there should be no FRCV program, separate FRCV program. The NGMBT should be the FRCV. And FICV, of course, we know that is on the annual as a MIG one program probably. So that would be a good thing. Okay. Karthik asks, Dada, how is it that our forces are always overwhelmed by Chinese forces everywhere? Not everywhere. They're not. We always keep hearing the news that they might detach Arunachal, Ladakh, etc. It's not going to be easy. They can't do it. Arunachal, they can't. Ladakh, they can do a forward movement in some areas. Why are we so reactive every time? There are many reasons for this, but see, it's like this. We are not overwhelmed. But what happened in the summer of 2020 was that because of COVID, our forces were under strength all along the line of actual control while they were exercising in Tibet. They're doing their annual exercises. And while I had warned a certain gathering, as I have tweeted a few times in 2017, that they would misuse the border protocol framework at a certain point in time, I think people thought that it would still hold, no matter what happened. And the Chinese misused it. And that's how they could come forward in the summer of 2020. Anyway, next question. Any plans for Indian Manpads? Yeah, they are pretty much being developed right now. Ayush Pandey, how many more regiments of BrahMos does the army need? I won't get into exact numbers, but it's more than what they have right now. And don't you think army should seriously spend money on developing long-range MLRS? Actually, I'll tell you something. These long-range MLRS, 250 to 300 kilometer range, are actually under development with the support of the army. So they are doing what you want, basically. Swab 92 PAL asks, given the proliferation of drones and ISR capabilities, what is the feasibility of towed artillery systems in compared to SPGs? Towed artillery systems are not obsolete in any way at all. Otherwise, why do you think Ukraine wants those M777s, or why? If you look at any US Army presentation, you will find not just the M777, but the M101 also has a role. Okay, the 105mm system. Towed artillery systems can actually have a lower signature than large tracked SPGs, which are very difficult to maintain in the field. You see, it's just like having to maintain tanks in the field. That is what it comes down to, with more problems. So it's not all. And in mountainous regions, there are very few points where you can actually base a battery. And while it may seem that having a track system is great, it's not how it works. Do you know the Chinese have deployed a whole bunch of towed artillery systems against us in eastern Ladakh? So towed artillery systems combined with modern drone-based and satellite-based ISR is actually a very good value proposition. Next question. I'll maybe write a whole article on this because I think there is this nonsense that is circulating that towed systems are somehow obsolete or something. Okay. Shoptorshi DG asks, can we develop a 250 to 300 kilometer Pinata system similar to High Mars? Well, something I just answered this question. Something like this is being developed. Okay. So we have Pratik Mishra asking after that, what's your assessment of the current situation on the LAC? Well, it's like this. As far as Galwan is concerned, the Chinese are no longer right at PP14. They moved back because they were having trouble with the river swelling up, just as the snow started melting. So they are not there at the moment, not exactly that. So they moved back a bit. As far as the Depsang is concerned, all those PPs, right from basically PP 9, 10, 11, those are still with them. Our guys can't really patrol up to those points, and that needs to change obviously. In that Charding Ninglung Nala section, they have just pitched a few tents across the Nala, and they are basically being very funny there. In Chumar, they have been building up, but in Chumar, the heights are on the Indian side. They can only mount a surreptitious operation at best. In in the Hot Springs Gogra sector, they haven't moved back as much as they were supposed to, and they are demanding things, but PP16 is still in Indian hands, so that gives us an advantage. Even if they don't go back from PP15, they really don't have that much of an advantage there. And the other thing is that our side has really built up a lot of defenses in depth in these areas now. So without the element of surprise and deception and basically and malfeasance that they did in summer 2020, they can't come forward that easily. In fact, in the Depsang DBO sector, what the Chinese are doing is they're building a lot of these berms along the Chipchap River and even further behind, where they are emplacing tanks. So it doesn't seem like they want those tanks to actually launch some forward movement. They are basically asking us to come to do something over there. So there are issues, but we need more firepower. We need more loitering strike systems. We need cruise missiles. We need better EW, which is under development, etc. Okay, next question. Shitish Kumar, how many more Apaches will the army buy? Please ask this question to the army, okay? And then they only can answer this question. If they really want to keep buying, highly expensive equipment, well. Suryansh Chaudhary, what is the possibility of NGMBT not going Arjun way? There is a possibility it won't. I have 100% confidence and believe in Babu's and army that NGMBT goes Arjun way and we end up importing T14. No, it's not the same. Today, because of people like you and all the people who are with DDR and support indigenization, it's not so simple. See, somebody will ask me, what have you done? Well, I spent a whole decade making sure that that these sort of things don't happen, with your support obviously. And what we have done now is we have greatly strengthened the hand of the good people within the system who want to do things the right way, and we should continue to do that. I don't think it will be so easy to wish away the NGMBT. Akash Popat, Saurav, in matter of India, Middle East trade, do you believe the situation on ground is grim? Why do we seem so cautious? This is not really a ground forces equipment question, but I'll answer this. This is the same reason why the much maligned Nehruji used to be circumspect. You see, we have a lot of ties with the Middle East, which are valuable to us, not the least of which is the supply of oil. Otherwise, we can't. See, having Russia and America come on board is very good. I have been a big votary of that, of energy supplies from these two places. But ultimately, the anchor suppliers are over there. And then there is the matter of remittances from those places. There are other issues also. We use them for many other things as well. So obviously, the Indian side is always a bit sensitive to their sort of views about things, which is why it is so important for us to maintain internal harmony. Somebody, I think, is commenting that, while they respect my patriotism, they think I am burying my head in the sand about the internal problems. Not at all. Where extremist problems within India, tinged by whichever religion, have been dealt very effectively by India's internal security forces. They've dealt with them surgically. Politicizing them, beating a drum, or using them for your own nefarious purposes will only lead to the multiplication of such problems. They will not lead to the resolution. Anybody saying this is either naive, foolish, or just a plain simple scoundrel who doesn't have India's best interests in heart. We have dealt with Islamists, we've dealt with Khalistanis, we've dealt with Hindu extremists, we've dealt with all kinds of people under the rubric of the law and using our internal security apparatus. The hand of that apparatus should be strengthened by depoliticizing a whole range of issues. Our geopolitics, our internal stability, our future growth, our future power, all depends on maintaining societal harmony and stability. There is absolutely no requirement and no call for disturbing that in the name of making a big issue out of it. Sitting and tweeting about it and spewing venom on the internet will not solve that problem. It will only make it worse. Next question. We have one more question over here, right here. Where is that question? We've answered those. Agam Chatha. Okay, KK. Will we order more LCHs? So that is what is being said. There are 160 LCHs planned apparently. Let's see what happens. Agam Chatha. Given that India went to the demands of the Gulf countries, what can we do to prevent it in future? Nothing. You have to first focus on indigenization, make your economy bigger, reduce dependency on crude and other things, and most importantly, it's not just a question of bending to demands. Maintain internal harmony so that such demands don't arise at all. Yeah, of course, that doesn't mean that we will let others interfere in our internal dynamics. We won't. But it's better to be strong and united inside so that such things don't arise at all. Next question, fusion fame. Should India also develop Tejas Mark III as a 20-ton class single-engine aircraft which can perform both stealth and non-stealth role like Su-30? This is an Air Force question, won't answer it. MG Dada, why is ISRO recently using European rocket? Space question, won't answer it on this say. M. Anirudh, good evening, sir. Nice to see frequent IH sessions and hope you are doing, what do you call that? Where is that? And hope you are doing well. Any updates? Yeah, I'm doing much better now. Any updates on indigenous CRAM and self-propelled AD since K21 we have? There are solutions being put together by DRDO, erstwhile OFB companies, and the army is in the loop. Let's see what comes out of it. Suryansh Chaudhary asks, why are we not completing Nirbhaya development? Nirbhaya can be very useful like the Caliber in UK. It can be, provided you produce it in bulk and deploy it, but it is being progressed actually. Aman Rautre asks, good evening sir, Saurav sir, what's your take on tanks in modern warfare after the Russia-Ukraine war? I don't think tanks are obsolete or anything. I have said this many times previously, that their role in the battlefield is changing. Okay, how you use, and of course there's always the question of using them in a proper combined arms environment. Tanks, there's nothing new you are learning about the vulnerability of tanks. Okay, what you have definitely learned is if you don't have proper tank crews who are trained to repair things in the field and who are really dedicated to the equipment, then a lot of them will end up getting abandoned. Just look at the number of tanks which have actually got abandoned. So you also need to look at, if you take away the number of tanks abandoned and just take the number of tanks destroyed and compare it with the number of javelins and other anti-tank weapons deployed and compare that, get that same ratio for previous, prior conflicts, then you might get somewhere as to whether tanks have become more vulnerable or not. Okay, there's a BMD radar question, won't take it. Viman Malhotra, Arunachal Ladakh, where are we more vulnerable? Okay, this is a good question. In Ladakh, we are still vulnerable in that Depsang sector because of obvious reasons. We are not that vulnerable in Hot Springs, Gogra anymore or Galwan, which is a good thing. In Arunachal, we are obviously vulnerable in the far eastern part of the state where our roads basically don't really reach the watershed, okay, the McMahon line. So we need to change that. In fact, that is the most vulnerable place. Not exactly Wolong sector where a lot of things the army has worked creditably to basically shut that gate, but places like Upper Siang and all, those are the places we need to look at. Okay, next question. Shiva, do you think of India someday regaining Aksai Chin, not necessarily in the near future, or do we have that much of risk appetite? The current risk appetite is for all to see. But regaining it someday in the future, I won't rule it out. That future may not also be that far away, as in when I become an old man or you become an old man. Anyway, next question from Saurav Kumar. Update on Saras sir, will we make bigger transport planes? There's no, again, this is not a ground forces equipment question, so I'll skip this. Pankaj, so why do we need MMRC and other ground forces not? Please restrict your question to the area of army issues or ground forces equipment, okay? Because that's what we are focusing on. I've decided to do themed IAHs from now on because the same questions keep recurring, and also I want to give more time to one particular area in every IAH. Okay, what do we have here? We have Alex Delage. Was it a mistake to not cross the LAC when we had the chance, when we captured the Kailash range? Well, we did. Or during Operation Snow Leopard, are you sure we didn't cross the LAC? Do we know exactly where the Chinese line of 59 actually lies? Yes, we do. Okay, Shayan Roy. Dal, love your show. Any chance of scrapping additional K9 Vajra and offer a self-propelled tracked howitzer with Kalyani gun and K9 chassis? No. I think tracked howitzer we have standardized on this K9 Vajra T only. What you are going to see is an AMAGS, which I have also talked about in the past. An advanced mounted artillery gun system, which will be basically based on the ATAGs on obviously a truck chassis. So truck chassis based, truck mounted, truck chassis based howitzer is on the anvil. Right. Next question. Ionic protocol. In which technologies India is better compared to Russia and China? Please answer in detail and where we lag. Okay. Again, this is a ground forces equipment thing. But I think in terms of radar technology, India is not behind Russia anymore and not behind China either. Okay. In terms of missile technologies, also India has caught up basically with the two of them. Because I think our line of solid fuel propellant lines, production lines, are quite stable and are scalable. Okay, next question. Shoptarshi DJ asks, can we develop multiple platforms from FRCB? No, FRCB is supposed to be made up of multiple platforms. The NGMBT will also be multiple platforms. Okay, Praveen Singh. Why no orders for artillery guns? We have more indigenous options. Again, ask this question to the army and the government. They should answer this. Somebody saying people like Rana Ayu, well, that's another different thing altogether. Deepak Pandey says, good evening. Can India manufacture a 2048 in a mercury cadmium telluride FPF? We don't have indigenous fabs for AGT, CTTE. We don't. We don't have AGCDTE fabs. So we can't manufacture this at the moment. This will be imported. But I don't know why I'm answering this, because this is a Air Force question. Okay. Next thing is there. Let's go up. Vyuha, I asked, India should develop a next-gen MP-ATGM with a max range of 6 km equipped with next-gen countermeasures. This is a cheap way to eliminate $1 million tank by looking at current war. Well, MP-ATGM2 is being developed actually, so it's on the anvil. Boynak Bormonas, great to see you again, Dada. Yeah, good to have you here. Can Idea Forge weaponize their drones? I think they might be able to. Why not? Is any Indian company currently doing it? Yes, there are companies doing this. But next question. Arjun Kapoor. How do you see the tour of duty model of recruitment? I am not sold on it. I don't. Given that the fact that the Indian soldier fights for the Paltan, I think in the Indian Army has very storied traditions that have ensured, battlefield success. I can say with great certainty that our soldiers will never run away from their posts, as some soldiers from other very great armies have in the past. They will fight to the last round and the last man and the last round. And I think, the regimental ethos has something to do with that. The tour of duty sounds like a conscription mercenary hybrid model, which is just a step away from what the Chinese are doing anyway. So I am not sold on it really. Next question is Inquisitors of India. Any updates on MP-ATGM? Well, it's supposed to be in user trials. Okay, Aditya Prakash. Hi Saurav. What's behind this bonhomie between Italy and Pakistan military tech? It's not new. Radars, UAVs and critical tech finding its way to Pakistan. Yeah. And even remember their submersible. They have those Cosmos class submersibles, 3 of those. Again, this is a naval issue. I won't go more into it. Inquisitors of India asks, do you agree with the ceasefire enforcement on LOC even though infiltrations continue unabated, you mean? We'll have to see. I have never been a great fan of ceasefires, but then at the same time, you have to think about the people who live along the LOC, right? Ceasefire is a sine qua non for them. Otherwise, they simply won't live there. And otherwise, where will they go? So from a purely humanitarian perspective, yeah, maybe an ceasefire is there. As far as the infiltration is concerned, I think the Indian Army has been quite successful in pushing down infiltration numbers. The idea should be to not let anyone in. Okay, that is what we should build up towards. And even if we attain 95-96% success there, all the success rate had gone up to 90% at one time, that will be the right way forward. Instead of, so all gaps should be plugged. Okay, Jeffrey Royanas, thank you for the live stream here. Great to have you here. What indigenous equipment do we plan to field to fill the role of the Thor Pansil for mobile AD? Can QRSAM Akash-based track vehicle help offset the drone problem? Well, we don't believe in tracked SAMs anymore, really, because the Akash went from being on a track chassis to being on a high mobility 6x6 vehicle. So basically a Tatra, and then a Tata 6x6 truck. But the main thing is that Tor role will be filled by QRSAM only. Now, as far as the Spark role that the Pansy has, they thought of the BHO initially, but I think there'll be an indigenous option. Something like the CIWS mounted on a truck. Okay, so those are going to fill that role. Saurav Kumar, sir, any status update on FICB and Abhay? No status update, although an Abhay Mark II has been fabricated. That's a DRDO OFB kind of thing, with far more composite armor and things like that. KK, how vulnerable is India to Chinese rocket force? India is vulnerable, but now the Chinese are also going to become vulnerable to our own rocket forces. Okay. Vinita, what percent of Indian Army equipment can be termed obsolete? Obsolete, less than 20%. Obsolete. Obsolescent, maybe higher. Let's go that way. Let's go to the next question. Avinash D, when will we see big orders by small and medium-sized drone from Army? There are some drone orders in last 2 years, but numbers are too low. Well, there are bigger numbers on the annual. Xavier asks, you've been whining non-stop incandescently for videos. Now please stop, it looks cringe. When did I whine about for videos? What exactly do you mean here? Whining non-stop incandescently? I think I have not been doing any such thing. Next question. Vinita, what percent of you, I've answered this question. Deepak Kajla asks, thoughts on the Uber type GIS apps used by Ukraine forces for artillery target provisioning? Any similar plans for IA? If they have, let's not talk about it. Praveen Singh, so what's the composition of our rocket force? I've written a detailed article on this. You might want to read it. It's on the Diplomat. Love Bansal, how is the situation in Uttarakhand? Could we get caught surprised there? Not anymore. Now the deployments have gone up. I don't think we can be surprised there anymore. Frankenstein, here I'll come back to you because you have answered your question before. Vinita, what is the future of Indian Army Aviation Corps? Do you think our defense policymakers are overlooking its relevance? Not anymore. I think they are giving more attention to this. So future is simple. You're going to see armed drones with the Aviation Corps. Under Project Cheetah, those drones are no longer with the Artillery Corps. They've been moved to the Army Aviation Corps. You're going to see more Rudras. You're going to see the LCH also. So you're going to see more attack helicopters, and you'll see some Apaches as well that are being imported. Shayan Roy asks, when it comes to transportation equipment and armored equipment to high altitude regions, do you see any future of Mi-26 helicopter in Indian Armed Forces? Only to a certain point. Mi-26, I know, has made it to the, not armored equipment. Obviously, it can't carry real an armored fighting vehicle, but it can carry things like, gypsies armed with ATGMs and all. It has done that in the past. It has even made it to Siachen base camp. Okay, Ayush Singh asks, do you think India is willing to regain POK and Aksai Chin? What does India need to do to regain it? Think, India is willing to, maybe not at this point. India need to regain it. It's a much more complex question. India needs to focus on increasing its power at the moment. Basically, its economic power and thereby an indigenization. Get its own inventory, increase the dependency of the world economy on itself, and of course keep practicing for offensive operations in these areas and build forces that can mount offensive operations in these areas. Okay. Avinash Yelamarti asks, is the AK-203 deal being replaced by Indian manufactured gun? I don't know. I haven't heard anything at the moment. But if it is, I've been an advocate for doing that. What is the performance and status of SSS defense guns compared to other weapons available? We'll have to see, because we haven't done any evaluation. We were invited to, try out SSS defense guns at their range. But unless we do that, and again, we are not infantry soldiers and nor are we small arms experts per se, okay? But yeah, we would still be able to, we have some people who have been in the military and we can sort of send them and they might be able to give a better answer. Okay. Abhi, is the army trying to move away from 5.56 into 45 as they have started opting? As they have started opting as standard, even the AKS standard. Okay, you mean 7.62 into 39. Even though the former has better penetration and full auto fire. Former better penetration is debatable. Full auto fire is available even in the new Kalashnikov type rifles. Okay, so let's go to newer questions. We have more. Okay, Xavier is asking a Mazagon dog question, which I won't answer because it's a Navy related question. Vinod Reddy is asking why India can't mount 7.62 mm guns on IFVs and autocannons, 23mm on fighter jets. These are actually, the first part is not so difficult. Second part is more specialized. Arjun Kapoor is asking, it seems there is so much resistance to any indigenous system that looks to be succeeding. Have Halwais still not been dealt with? Halwais have the cover, the incandescent cover of a tinge with saffron, you see. So no matter what rubbish they spew on things that really matter to India, a whole bunch of people will support them because for them politics is the be all and end all, the country be damned. Okay. So yes, the Halwais are basically taking the people like Halwais have infiltrated our system by simply posing as, being holier than thou with respect to a particular flag and a color, and are denigrating us and are trying to eat us from within. The sooner you people open your eyes to what they are doing, the better for you and your, progeny. Next question, Avinash, this question is there. Webhub Ugale. Any update on NGMBT, light tank and FIC? We have already answered this. Aman Chauhan asks, hi Saurav, always interesting and worth tuning to your stream. Well, I'm glad you find it interesting. Regarding the overall well-being of our Jawans, do you think India does enough for them? We can never do enough for the overall well-being of our Jawans, okay? I have seen the kind of conditions in which they slog, and we should do more to improve it in terms of shelters, in terms of connectivity. And this is another reason why we can't really downsize our military beyond a point, because our people also need breaks. They need to be able to go home. They need to be rotated. We have to also bring our paramilitary forces up to speed, the CAPFs, Central Armed Police Forces, for taking over deployment in certain sectors. We must do more for them. We must definitely, one thing is good though, they're not paid very poorly anymore. They're paid reasonably well. Okay, of course you can never pay enough for somebody who's actually putting his life on the line, but then you have to there are fiscal considerations and other things involved, so you understand. But more can be done for them in terms of habitats, in terms of shelter, in terms of rotation policies, in terms of, basically psychological support to them. Those things we need to look at more. We need to make sure that, they feel as if they are part of a large, powerful country, because then they will fight even harder, and they fight quite hard. Okay, next question. Where is this thing there? Okay, Sandeep asks, will GTRE again, aerospace related question. One more question. Okay, I'll take this question from God of Rawat. Can we collaborate with Israel on small arms and exoskeleton? We already have. I mean, you remember the Zitara carbine, right? That's X95. It's nothing but the Tavor 21 carbine version, license produced by OFB. So we've already done this. An exoskeleton with individual soldiers-based advanced equipment. Exoskeletons are under development by DRDO, two kinds, powered and unpowered. And I think, you see, I'll tell you one thing. Israel is that one place apart from Russia and of course France, from where things have actually yielded results. Okay. So I'm not surprised that DRDO is forging an ever closer relationship with them, and I think it will yield returns. Okay, next. We have questions. Yeah, well, Arjun Kapoor is asking, please make a UPI based contribution system. We already have that. It's called this. This is the VPA. It's on the screen. SJDR Limited 2367 at UPI. But I would like to mention one thing. Please mention your locational address for tax purposes, because DDR pays taxes on everything, and we need your locational address for GST purposes and all that. So I would be grateful if you could send your locational address along with whatever transfer you make. Okay, next. Deepak Kajla asks, thoughts on dealing with honey traps and leaks. This is actually a useful question. I think, see, this goes to that whole point about, what kind of regimental ethos you have. If we bring in people through this tour of duty thing, this sort of thing might actually increase. This susceptibility to honey traps and leaks and other things. I think what needs to be done is we need a better induction process in the army. We need to sanitize and sensitize people. We need to not sanitize, sensitize people to these issues. We need to have very much stricter policies for social media interaction, etc. In fact, the kind of things that a lot of people from the serving officers from the army are saying on Twitter and other social media are actually not really acceptable. That also, there needs to be a crackdown on that as well. So then the use of WhatsApp in general, that should be completely proscribed. WhatsApp should not be used within the army. They should have their own apps, as they have come up with some apps. They should standardize on that. See, people have to understand, today everybody and anybody can be a person of interest. That's how bad this world has become. And somebody who's in the military will always be a person of interest. Okay, next question. What do you call that? The EONI protocol seems to have gone crazy and is asking me whether the BMD radar is indigenous 1,000 times. Well, the first ones were brought in from Israel. The subsequent ones are obviously indigenous. Okay. Let's discuss this in a separate sort of edition. I'll dedicate an entire edition to BMD. I'll talk about technical things related to BMD also, because I've studied that. Okay. Next question. Where is this? Is Abhi asking, any news on MCIWS gun induction? MCIWS project is dead. There's no question of it being inducted. In army for PDW role? No, not really. PDW, this is being inducted. The JVPC, what used to be called the MSMC also at one point of time. It follows that, proprietary 5.56 into 30 millimeter round. Okay. I've answered this conscript system question already. So next, Satyaki asks, why LCH rockets and Rudra rockets are small and less in number when they can carry more? This will change. It's not going to be this way forever. Okay, since now there are no more, I'll just start circling back with the second question. So M. Anirudh, why do we keep releasing tenders for BPJ and BP helmets? Why can't there be follow-on orders for SMPP or Bharat Kavach? Why waste time unnecessarily on tendering? Because the specifications keep changing. Suddenly they hear, oh, somebody's bringing coated round. Oh, it looks like a lot of full metal jacket rounds left by the Americans in Afghanistan are making their way to Kashmir. Oh, we need to change the specifications. That is how it goes. Okay, next question. Okay, let me send your address details to this email ID. Okay. Some people have already sent the address. I'm grateful to them for that. So we've already used those addresses. Saurabh Kumar. So how is the Pakistani build-up across Gujarat and Rajasthan? How big a threat are Pakistani Marines? Pakistani Marines, not that, but they do have a special boat squadron kind of thing in their navy, which of course has been trained by the Great British, okay, by the British Special Boat Squadron and all that. So we can't take them lightly. So we should war game against such elements. And build up across GJ and Rajasthan, it's mostly defensive. Some offensive elements are there, but not really. I mean, they have added some. They have added. They are basically buffering up a new division right now, near in that Punjab Sialkot sector. Okay, so that is what they are at. So what is happening next? Kumar Mangalam Lambodias. Hi Saurav, what is the status of ramjet based artillery shells? I haven't heard anything of late about this. And when can we see testing and induction of indigenous manpads? Very soon. You'll see testing and testing and induction of indigenous manpads quite soon. Okay, I'm circling back to other questions now. Okay, Agam Chadda asks, did we export the Pinata system to any other country? We haven't exported it to anybody as yet. Also, given we exported patrol boats to Vietnam, can we export frigates to them in the future? We've tried this already. Let's see. But they may want it built at their yards also. Okay. Even has a question, is Agni 5 range underreported? Yes, well, yes it is. I asked this question 3 times, not answered. Just answered this question. No more questions from me after that. Well, yes, in a way. Okay. Then there is a question on Viman Malhotra. Is India investing in some less expensive cruise missile systems? It is. It is investing. Next question is from Aman Rautrea. 60 more Apaches as per Boeing's presentation for Rajnath Singh MOD. Yeah. Let them make such presentations. I don't think it would be so easy to just get in 60 more Apaches. Anyway. Then we have Saptarshi DG, we have questions. We have okay, I've answered most of these. Okay, Frankenstein CSRs. Somehow it looks like West is more interested in weakening Russia rather than actually helping Ukraine. Ukraine being used pretty much. I completely agree with this sentiment. There is obviously no interest on the Western side to actually draw down things in any, useful frame of, useful span of time. Okay. So we have one more question here. Even is saying, sir, I have Tata IFP pics. Do you want a Twitter actual pic? I have seen those IFP pics. So next question. Kartik Dada, what are the good indigenous small arms companies? What is the real reason these companies don't get enough orders? Are they technically not competent? No, I think they are technically competent. I just think it's a cultural issue which has to be overcome. We have not really, people are not really used to placing their faith on a small company for large orders in India. Okay, but it's changing. It's changing. I think they have these companies are also going about it in a somewhat smart manner. They're looking at small batches. They are pushing small batches to select elite operators and others, who have a smaller requirement but are more discerning. So once they do that, there's people from other arms may come across their wares and things like that. Then they'll get to know firsthand whether they are good or not. Then of course the question will be whether they can deliver on time and at scale. That is one very big issue, and that cannot be discounted. That is definitely an issue that weighs on the minds of the military before they give a small company a chance for a big order. So that is there. Okay, next question. Karthik is again asking, what will the rocket force comprise of? Read that diplomat article I wrote. There's no point in my detailing it again. When do we plan to get this up and running? I think 3 years' time. Okay, Vaibhav Ugate is asking, answered those questions. Okay, Avinash Yelamarti is asking, why does DRDO still use Tatra when Indian companies such as Tata and Ashok Leyland have similar trucks? It uses both, but then Tatra is also manufactured by an Indian company, a BEML, with more than 80% indigenization. And Tatra is very useful. Those Tatra trucks are quite useful in certain areas. That is why they are being used. Okay, next question is, Karthik, how are we going on the anti-drone systems? Under development. Laser-based systems are under development. 10 kilowatt system will soon be produced. And of course, soft kill systems are being developed. EW systems against drones are being developed. So I think we are moving forward quite quickly in this area. The recent experience from the wars in Central Asia and in, of course, Ukraine have given people the sense that this is an area where we need to get up to speed quickly. The EONI protocol asks, which export possibilities do you see that are more or less going to happen in defense? I think artillery systems, both rocket and tube, some electronic warfare systems, radars, and even electronic attack systems. You're going to see more. You're going to see more BPJs and which are already exported, things like that. You're going to see some helicopters getting exported. Those are going to happen. Raghav is asking, recently SATA units from artillery were given to Army Aviation in the eastern sector. Any reason behind this move? I won't discuss this really. Okay. Aerospace system questions. Okay. Vivan Malhotra is asking, sir, any update on WEM's Asibal 3rd gen fire and forget anti-tank guided missile? No. We can ask them, of course. Let's see what they say. Gaurav Rawat. Okay, I've answered this question. Avinash Yelamatti asks, is the IA looking to replace Cheetah cargo delivery flights to Siachen with cargo drones? They may try, but it's not that simple. But it's worth trying actually. They are working on high altitude cargo delivery drones. So I don't think Cheetah type systems will get replaced completely, but they'll be supplemented. Agam Chadha, people struggle to see India using air power in red code, giving statements. It doesn't make military sense either, using air power in red corridor. There's no need to do this. Okay. Ayush Singh is asking, so will infighting between Xi Jinping and Li Keqiang for power tussle lead to a small-scale war with India? It's actually a question worth pondering about. And the possibilities cannot be discounted, which is why we need to be prepared. And we need to keep building up. We need to keep building up. Karthik is asking, Dada, what is your opinion on conscript system in India? I answered this question. The tour of duty is already there. Saw it in a few countries and looked win-win for both civilians and the system. Maybe not in India, given our Pulton system. Okay. Suyash Chaudhary, your take army with HCT-40 as gunship for strike group. HCT-40 is not that survivable, I think. It can be used in a permissive environment with coin. I really don't want to send a pilot up there in a plane like the HCT-40 with just some underslung rockets and or ATGMs and just or a cannon. It doesn't make sense. It's better to use drones like the Archer UAV in numbers. along with the right kind of electronic warfare equipment. Okay, Arjun Kapoor is asking, we dealt with this. Saurav Kumar is asking, sir, how is the I've answered this as well. Let's see if there are any more. Okay, there are plenty of questions apparently. So let me just go through them. Okay, 1 second. Okay, Sandeep is asking, what is this Adani ammunition factory coming up in Kanpur recently? Who's the technology partner? They will answer this question. But given it's Adani, I think it might be IMI. Might be. I don't know. Could be someone else also. But whatever. What type of MREs are soldiers use? Well, the ones developed by DFRL, DRDO. Other countries have MREs which can last months or years. Do we have something like this? Yeah, we do. We also have long-lasting MREs. Fusion fame after the theaterization of the military. Shouldn't the army aviation also be controlled by Air Force? It helps to manage this. No. No. Army aviation should stay with the army. Just like the Air Force grew out as a separate branch from the army, and I completely supported. Well, I wasn't around to support it, but yeah, well, I support such things, but I can't support the Army Aviation Corps being subsumed into the Air Force. Air Force would, of course, love you. They might even give you an honorary commission for suggesting something like this. Then, we have a question after this. We just hold on for a second. We have a question here, sir. Most of the tenders get extended for months. Yes, they do. What's the actual reason for it? Example, 220 guns. Well, it's the entire bureaucratic financial cycle, basically. That is the main reason. Xavier, is our naval design doctrine, again, a non-ground forces equipment question, won't answer. Vinita, do you see further exports of Swati data to other countries? I think it will happen. Which countries where are the countries where what are the prospects for its export? I think Southeast Asian markets. It may find, and obviously not in the ones with island chains that much, but probably Vietnam. I think that is a country that could do with especially the mountainous, the mountain terrain variant of the Swatis, which DDR calls Swati 2. Shiva Shankar is asking, when BrahMos NG integration is going to happen? Okay, another Air Force question, won't answer. HTT Mark II in Red Corridor is a nice idea. Well, air power, there's no need really. It will end up causing more problems than solving them. Even just with ground forces, we can get the Reds. We don't really need air power on them. Suyans Chaudhary is asking, is AK-103-203, as Army called it, going down because of UK-Rus war, which puts lots of pressure on India's shoulder? And is there any possibility for Indian manufacturers like Astra and Triple S? There is. Whether it is going down or not, I can't say exactly precisely whether it is going down or not, but we have indigenous options in the private sector which should be explored, and in the erstwhile OFB as well. Rishabh Kumar, do Chinese have 300-kilometer artillery system? No. Tube artillery? No. Gerald Bull had done work with them. So they basically got the GHN 45, what used to be called the Noricum gun. That is the platform they got, and their artillery guns subsequent to that, both towed and the ones mounted on the track chassis, like the PLL 45 and all that, PLL 45. Those are all basically based on the Noricum gun. As far as they also did, Gerald Bull also did work on a space gun, like the HARP project, HAARP, High Altitude Auroral Research Project. The guns which reached an altitude of 180 kilometers and all that. So some of that tech also came to the Chinese. But no, in the future they may develop a gun which can reach this range using, of course, an electromagnetic launch system. But so will we. It's like the strategic long-range cannon that the US Army just shelled. That was basically not going to be a not going to be a chemically powered system. It was basically an electromagnetically powered. It was going to be an electromagnetic system. It was going to be an electromagnetic rail gun, EMRG. Okay, Kumar Mangalam Lambodi asks, why are we taking so much time in developing the current versions of Pinata? And are there any plans for longer range versions in the near future? There are plans, I've already said. But I think Pinata, you see, it's not so much development. The development is successful. So in terms of stabilizing the rocket production. Stabilizing as in, in sense, first of all, we are using case bonded propellants for the longer ranged Pinata, right? Because we wanted to fit in more solid propellant in a given volume. You get to enhance the fraction of solid propellant you have in the same motor volume if you use case bonded propellant technology. So you have to stabilize that. You have to maintain quality control. Those are the things which are happening right now, not so much the development itself. See, unless you manufacture things and you actually build things, you will never really know what it is like. It's very simple, and you have to do that. Sanat Kumar Mahapatra is asking, sir, what about the Future Soldier program that DRDO started sometime back? FINSAS went nowhere. Only bits and pieces of FINSAS are being progressed separately by different labs. Okay, but yes, in the future you will see a new avatar of that program. Arjun Kapoor, full replete with exoskeletons and other aids and things like that. Arjun Kapoor is asking, email sent. Okay, great. Please do some talks on geopolitics. Further, please do an updated talk on the food security TED talk. Okay, I'll definitely consider these things. Econ Salon is where we discuss geo-economic issues, which is on my own personal channel. Okay, Vineet R is asking, is there any clause which prevents 100% indigenization of BrahMos? See, there is a JV in place, right? So that JV is 50.5% DRDO and 49.5% NPO Mastronia. So we respect, in India, we respect the terms of such international collaborations, So that is the thing that gets in the way of full indigenization. Okay, there is a question on Smart Torpedo, not really a ground forces equipment question. Praveen Singh, do we have 300mm rocket under development? Well, yes, something similar. Okay, Xavier is asking, any thoughts, the info on Chinese AFP SDS leaks? Not at the moment, but I'll come back to you at some point. Okay, Naraj Nandan, Army Chief mentioned China is using their perceived superiority to win the war of perception. Okay, something to that effect. Do you think war of perception is important? And if yes, are we better from Balakot? See, winning the war of perception is okay, but what really matters is hard power, hard ground power. Okay, that matters a great deal. War of perception also matters, but it will not be decisive in conflict. The days of, being able to fool the enemy into thinking, oh, we have more people, or spreading rumors in nearby towns about an ingressing enemy, and thereby the utility of such, something analogous to that in the modern setting is more limited, because there are more players, there are many more observing elements in the sky. It's not so simple. What you really need is hard power. Raghav, Cold Start Doctrine's existence was confirmed, so how are things going on the IBG front? Ask the army this question, but of course IBGization is underway and new things are being tested in exercises and so on and so forth. Kumar Mangalam Lambodia asks, okay, my God, let me see if there are any new questions by new people. Jugaru Anna, sir, any plan to reduce RCN and Su-30? This is not a ground forces equipment question. Prashant Singh Sisodia asks, AGVs are overhyped. There are a lot of talks about it. Yes, there are problems with AGVs anyway. Akash Popat asks, thanks for coming live. Can India ban Al Jazeera in India at least to send a message? Well, obviously countermeasures can be taken. See, we are not going to let them interfere in the Middle Eastern chaps interfere in our internal affairs beyond a point. Whatever they are saying seems, which is rational or is reasonable at a diplomatic level, we can take a look at that. But beyond a point, of course, we will engage countermeasures against them. We are not going to tolerate, but at the same time, I would say we need to dial down what is going on in India at the moment. That is not good for India. We need to preach a message of social harmony. Even the RSS chief is doing that now. So you can understand where things are at. Okay, the kind of things the RSS chief has said needs to be said by more people. In fact, more greater harmonious message should be sent. The bottom line is this, okay, that all Indian citizens, irrespective of their religion, deserve the same shot, deserve the same opportunities. Now you'll tell me that this is there and that is there, this is there. There are reasons for that, historic reasons. I have been a long votary of Uniform Civil Code also. Let me be very clear about that. But we need to maintain social harmony. We need to stop spewing venom on our own brothers and sisters just because they have some separate religion or they don't, or whatever they are. We have to be very clear about this. Okay. So next question is here. Is Chinu Destroyer asked, I saw, sir, if a long time war happens with China, could we counterattack and capture some areas? We'll have to, obviously. But this war won't last 3 months. That's it. It'll go nuclear much before that. And considering our armed forces in land high altitude, we are making these offensive forces. Okay. Can Indian police forces directly buy equipment from private players like AAS Defense? Yes, the MHA can do that. Or they asked to buy from government. They are not asked per se. They can. They can't buy. As in MHA buys and state police forces also buy. So they can through a tendering process, obviously. Jeffrey Rohan asks, okay, I've answered this question. How far have we come on the MREs for the army, given that food is a major part of morale, especially in the harsher and remote locations? DFRL will claim we have come very far. But I don't know what the soldiers feel about it. Look, I can't blame a soldier at 20,000 feet for not liking the MREs he's got. Because MREs across the world are, whatever. So that is the thing. Next question. Swam 92 Palas, instead of TOD, shouldn't there be better utilization of personnel? Yes, there should be. Taking from out of PI duties in NCC and use of limited defense civilians like Navy does for drivers, just a thought. This is not off the mark. Things like this can be done. Okay. Next question is, we've answered these. Agam Chadha, why Pakistan breaking up in 3 countries? And Imran Khan said because of extremism, because of domestic extremism. Pakistan is a clear-cut example of how trying to pursue religious homogeneity does not increase the unity of your country. It is a prime example of that, okay? And is an example of what not to become. And Pakistan breaking up is a very real possibility. In any case, Pakistan is an artificial entity, okay? You can't suddenly carve out a part of India on the basis of religion and think that this will be very sustainable over time. Now you will ask me whether Bangladesh will be sustainable. Well, in the future, I see India and Bangladesh having more of a confederation kind of setup. Okay, that is the direction in which things will head. In the case of Pakistan, trying to use religion and hatred of another religion, okay, has gone nowhere. It has not been able to paper over ethnic differences. So this is not a model to emulate. Okay, and as far as influx of population, it may happen even without that country breaking up, because that country's economy is going down the toilet. You see, the problem, now that you mention it, I have mentioned this before to a bunch of policemen. Once, many years ago, when I was much younger than I am now, I had heard a bunch of people speaking in a language which seemed like Punjabi, but wasn't exactly, okay. And their look and feel was not of people from Delhi either. So this question of whether people are coming in from the western border is not a theoretical question. People are coming in already. And once that place goes down the toilet, as it most likely will, then more people will come in. So we better get ready for that as well. Okay, next question is, and of course, don't forget one thing. That place going down with nukes is not a very good thing. So there are many contingencies we need to plan for. So we need to keep ourselves stable and strong and become stronger and stronger. Okay, that is what we need to do. Please drill this into your head. Okay, we have more questions over here. Suyan Chaudhary is asking, Army lacks SDR capability and how are they going to fill this blank? Are they going with foreign tech or there's any possibility for Indian SDR with Army? I think they are going with Indian tech. You're going to see an Indian SDR with them. But this is obviously a major gap for them. Okay, Agam Chadda is asking, can India have public gun ranges? Would love to test guns there. Yeah, I think we need that. I agree with your sentiment here. Okay. Thoughts on Chat Shankar in Bratislava? None at the moment. Sandeep, what is the significance of railgun? Please explain its use in war. Also, where is India in railgun development? Okay. Railgun development, 2 different calibers of railguns are under development at DRDO. ARD is taking the lead and all that. Lab in Chandigarh is also involved, obviously. But significance is that you can achieve much greater, you can impart much more energy on a round, achieve greater distances at greater speed, obviously greater velocity and things like that. Also, the material requirements become less. But then there is the question of delivering field power. So that is always going to be a question. So creating a mobile railgun is not as easy. But if it can be done, then it can be a game changer. Okay, Vibhangshu Chauhan is asking, sir, any thought on Middle East India boycott? They can't boycott us, okay? But we must, of course, reduce our dependency, but we must also maintain stability at home. And obviously, if they take things beyond a point, then we will implement countermeasures against them. It's not going to be a one-sided matter. But at the same time, having said that, like I have always said, I am a hawk as far as the external environment is concerned. But when it comes to our own brothers and sisters, irrespective of what their name might be, I am extremely soft. And this, whoever has followed me over the years should know. Okay, so we should maintain harmony. We should leverage the entire population of India for the purpose of development, and not vitiate the atmosphere amongst ourselves. Next question. Suyas Chaudhary, does Army have any platform of their own for SIGINT? Yeah, they do. SIGINT platform can be very useful, like US using them. Yeah. Oh, you mean a space-based platform? Let's not discuss this, but there are things on the offing. Okay. Next question is from this. What do you call that? Is from Vikas P. What deters PLA? Second Mountain Strike Corps, aircraft carriers. Second Mountain Strike Corps. Okay, we have almost run out of time now. Deepak Kachla asks, when can we see UGVs for patrolling on border areas? Quite soon. Next question is viewer I. If China successfully invades Taiwan, at the time we attack POK. This is against our ethos, probably attack POK or Oxychin. I don't think China will, if they do something against Taiwan, they are going to be able to block us completely along the LAC. Xavier is saying, please stop the boring whining, and next time, I'm sorry, but if you don't like what I'm saying because of whatever reasons, then I would suggest you don't attend IAH. Okay, next question, Vikas P. Why Akash NG does not have slewing capability? Slewing capability, you mean? How will it address multi-direction threat? No, not really. Where did you pick this up from? Rishabh Kumar, what are the future variants of Pinata that you talk? Can you talk about the range and time? Nothing. Up to 300 kilometers. Those are first there will be a 120 kilometer variant, and then you'll see a 250, 300 kilometer variant, all to be churned out in this decade itself. Okay. Vikas P is again asking another question. What is the need of IBG when you have rapids? This is a long answer. I have already talked a bit about it. Nitesh TR is asking, what about the strategic outlook of our army trop bus? They did not have a clue of the effectiveness of drones 10 years back. We don't see Russia. Well, no comment on this. Any update on exoskeleton already given? Okay, next questions. Karthik, how can we handle the Kashmir mess where our civilians are shot in selective manner? What are the possible options we have? We have intelligence options, which are intelligent, and we should use them. Solomon Indiaraj, what was really wrong with the Arjun? Nothing, it was Indian. That was wrong. That is what was wrong with it. Pankaj Padatre, what is the status of Cats Warrior program? I think you'll see it flying sooner than later. I think Harshvardhan Thakur is available on Twitter. You should ask him. Last question. Satyaki says, I see Akhand Bharat coming up like a confederation. It may happen. But for that, we have to understand that we need to make India stable and strong, and understand that we will always have a certain type of diversity, which we need to respect. Okay, that's enough before somebody else accuses me of whining when I'm only trying to say what is going to increase the strength of India, whatever. is I have to sign off now. Until next time. Bye. Jai Hind.